Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mormozine. I'm Mormozine, and I'm with Edward Nyahay tonight, who's a great filmmaker who made Witch Chronicles 1 and 2, and also a movie called Must Love Horror. And I saw his movie Witch Chronicles on Troma Now and reviewed it, and then I found out the sequel is on YouTube as well. And they're both really like shockingly original movies. There's so many rehash stories, but these are like totally original characters and original concepts, original horror concepts. And there's a whole like mythos almost. It kind of reminds me of Lovecraft in ways where it creates this whole world and everything. Like how did you come up with the Gothic magic for these movies, Edward?
So Gothic came from obviously my Gothic influence and loving that genre of art, whether it's music and or filmmaking. And I grew up and was raised Catholic. I'm a cradle Catholic man. I was no matter how crazy I ever got in my life, I always went to church. And the way I was able to combine the two is when I started creating music and started creating like different works of art. And I'm realizing, okay, there is no genre in what the hell I'm doing. And it's like I'm, and just being myself and expressing who I am as a person. And it's coming out in this way. And the only name I could put to it was Gothic. So I've created a world of that, whether it's like, so I've written a book, Wings of Flesh, that talks about it. And then the series, obviously the Witch Chronicles talks about it. And then my music talks about it. So it's gone into different mediums at this point, which is cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And it's like a mixture of like Catholic religion and some like occult themes and stuff. And like in the movie, what is your character's name? Is it Azrael or
Azar?
Azar. And he's got great costume and makeup and acting and voice work, and he's trying to keep his wife alive, who's possessed by a demon, and but he doesn't actually kill people. He just does. He like uses magic in order to keep his wife alive, and that's that's one of the things I really liked about this movie is that everybody in it seems kind of villainous in a way, but really people are just doing the best they can, and like your character just strikes me as somebody who's not an evil character. He's just dealing with his life the best he can,
Well, because it's like his childhood was so messed up, and there's a lot of things that parallel my personal life. Obviously I throw things into characters, and one thing that's really difficult about filmmaking is not just writing the film, but then writing for certain people, and then writing for yourself and having to convey a message, and then you have to go out and direct that and direct everybody, and then you have to know your scenes better than anybody else, and then be able to perform it and to get the energy from everybody around you up to where you need it to be. As you're directing and kind of want the shot from here, you know what I mean? It was a lot, and this was like just a true work of love and, for my craft and for getting out a message that I think, needs to be put out there. And my message, I feel, is I don't care how dark you are. I don't care what sins you've have been enveloped or encompassed by, there is a light, and God does love people, and you do need to find that, and once you do, I think life changes for people. So I like to use the motto, I like to reach down into hell and grab souls out for Christ, and that's what I feel like I do, is understanding a darkness that not everybody's going to get, but the people that do get it, I don't think there's God there. So I like to put God there.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I really appreciated that about your movie, about how it had a good message about God and Jesus and everything. Cause I was kind of, I could kind of identify with your character, where I was kind of like born on the left-hand path, but then I went to church and everything. And the older I get, the more important I think that story is about, and the more important like God and Jesus Christ are. And so your movies like were really inspiring, that they could be scary but also have a good Christian message behind them.
I appreciate that, brother. You know, when I used to live in Boston, so I graduated from UMass Boston, you know, with a film concentration and art major, and I used to go into Salem almost every weekend, and I loved Salem, and I met a lot of friends there that would practice the Wiccan masses, so they would invite me to them, and they would say to me, you know, you could pray to your higher power, and I said, well, my higher power is Jesus, and they're like, we don't care. I said, okay, if you don't care, then I'm going to learn your ways of doing things. So a lot of the spells and things, even though I was writing, and they're just sort of these creative things that will come over, you know what I mean? Because you're at point A, you need to get to point C, and you need a spell to get you there, you know? So learning Wiccan ways, but putting Christ in the center of that, you know, has a couple of benefits, but then there's a lot of negatives. Like you open up spiritual doors and you grow and you can walk through them, but then you're knocked back because you opened up other doors that have sideshows going on, and those are, you know, can lead you down a different path. You know what I mean? And then it sort of knocks you off track, you know? So it's that fight and struggle that I had to go through personally, that Azar goes through, you know, but obviously at you know, fictional levels, you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, but the core is there, like that's what's going on, and that's why it comes across real, because it is real. It's just amped up on steroids for the film.
Yeah, and you had great dialogue and interactions. Like I could tell it was like you were smart with your budget because you were working with only a few locations and stuff. And you're in the first one you had a smaller cast, but then in the second movie you had a huge cast. And I was really impressed about how you could get that many people in shot, you know?
I appreciate that. So Mark Kelly was the guy whose house we shot the first one at. And, you know, we had a mutual friend, and I used to shoot music videos, used to manage bands. So I used to go to his house and shoot videos. And then we shot Must Love Horror there. And then we created this whole, you know, I told him I wanted to do this whole Witch Chronicles series thing. You know, and all I did, man, is I just took Romero, you know, one location, small cast, kill everybody off, and you got a movie. And I said, oh, you know, so that's what I did, but I did it in my own way. You know what I mean? And then the second one came out, and you know, Alan Edwards, man, I just am so grateful for him. He was the owner of the ranch, and the only other movie ever shot on that ranch that the Witch Chronicles 2 Spirits of Ayahuasca was shot on was Hitchcock's Psycho. In the beginning, when they're driving, and then at the end when they sink the car. So that was on his property, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so it was real special, man. And you know, I called a lot of my friends. These were all friends, my cast members. You know, that they came together, believed in what we were doing, and just gave it their all, as you could tell from the performances. And we're shot at night, man. And dude, let me tell you something. We had scenarios where there was a friggin' bat flew into that tiny little red room, a bat, and I literally fell to my friggin' knees, and I was like, what the hell? Everyone laughed at me. It's like, you know, and they're like, I never saw you drop to your knees like that. I'm like, with my luck, I'd get bit and die on set. That would be my luck. Like, there was a rattlesnake that was shot there. It got crazy, man. My daughter, Rosebud, the snake that's in the movie, on the last day of shooting, man, died. I had to go home that night and tell my daughter that I killed her pet. That was probably the worst day of my life. That was horrible.
Yeah, that's sad when snakes die.
You know, there's a spirit to it. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, it's almost like this pet that grew up with us in our household, you know, got infamous to these two films. You know what I mean? And then that's it. Now she's a memory. It's sad, but it was cool because I got some pretty wicked shots with her in it. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely added a lot of value and played well on the screen, and that's what I find you got to do. I remember I made a movie one time and I shot in front of an old windmill, and somebody asked why I did that, and I said you have to use what you have. Like like everything you got to put it up on the screen, especially when you don't have a big budget, you have to use what you have available, you know?
Well, you know, I taught filmmaking for 14 years, man. I taught all around this country. I used to work for writer-director Zalman King, and I ran his office for 4 years, and that's where I met my wife, Jacqueline Lavelle. She was one of his lead actresses. You know, so true Hollywood story, man. The production assistant ran off with the lead actress on the movie A Place Called Truth. And you want to hear a funny story? When we first met, right? I leaned into her because, you know, I'm like, everyone's like, oh, Google-eyed over her. And I'm like, I was standing in and she was, you know, standing in for her own role because it was low budget. So I'm like, what the hell can I say to this girl to find out are her and I compatible? So I lean into her and I'm like, hey, are you a Marilyn Manson fan or what? I'm like, that right there would tell me it all. And of course, we've been married 19 years. So yeah. But after I worked for Zalman King and I learned everything about the industry, I wound up teaching it, you know, and I taught it in Fort Lauderdale. I taught it in New York. I taught it in the Bronx. I taught at Martin Luther King Jr. High School in Manhattan, Advantage Childs High School in the Bronx, Piper High School in Fort Lauderdale. And I taught at Crespi Carmel High School for 9 years in Encino. You know, I was an all-boys Catholic high school, you know, and I got a lot of kids, man. A lot of kids, well over 100 kids into top film schools in this world. And, you know, you're talking about industry kids, you know. So there was a lot that I had to step up to the plate for. And I was, you know, it was really an amazing time, you know what I mean? To be able to give back as much as I was able to.
Oh, awesome. My friend Jessica said hi. We only got one commenter tonight.
Hello, Jessica. How are you, sweetie?
And so you write, you direct, you star, but you also do the paperwork and get all the releases and all the contracts and everything.
Oh, yeah. And let me tell you something, man. To get distribution on the first one, it took me 3 months. I did it by myself. Like, people have to go to post-production houses for that, you know, and they'll spend $10,000 on it. And I did it all by myself because I had nothing, you know, I had myself and that's it. And if I didn't know how to do it, I figured out how to do it and I did it myself, you know, and it was like going through that experience, I was able to teach it back into the classroom. And I was teaching shit that nobody teaches, not even in the colleges, because I knew students that were in master's degree film programs, and the stuff I was teaching at the high school level, they weren't even teaching in master programs in colleges. So I didn't care, man. I wanted to bring the industry in real life right to these kids, you know, because I had no choice. It was like that's what I was going through, and I was learning it, so I was teaching it, you know. It was cool.
Yeah, that's something I always wish I could learn in school was filmmaking. Especially now, it seems like there's a lot of additional opportunities now. I'm not sure if it's harder or easier now to break into filmmaking, but like because we don't really have the video stores anymore as far as distribution and everything. Do you have an agent for your film? Because I know I saw your movie on Troma Now, but I know some of the movies get sold to Troma through an agent.
Yeah, it was Adler. So they're the ones that distributed the first one. So Adler Associates Entertainment. So they must have gotten it through them.
Awesome,
but
cool.
It took a couple years, man, for it to come out, but thank God it did. You know, but it was a long waiting process. You know what I mean? Because it goes through a lot of things and really, yeah. I got it down to Must Love Horror. You know how many days it took me to shoot that movie? You're not gonna believe it, man.
I'm not sure.
4 days.
Wow.
I shot Must Love Horror in 4 days. I shot The Witch Chronicles 1 in 6 days. I shot The Witch Chronicles 2 in 8 days.
Wow, that's great, man.
Yeah. And then, you know, take like, you know, 6 months to a year to edit them because I was coming home after work and doing my thing. But, you know, a week out of my life to put a feature film together, I was all in, you know. And that was just an easy thing for me to, you know, be able to get some students that needed IMDb credit, you know, to help me out. And then find my friends that were actors that wanted, you know, to, you know, get another IMDb credit, get some footage out there, whatever, you know. So that's how I was able to pull everything together.
That's great. And Must Love Horror, I really did like that one too. It kind of triggered me. I turned it off at first, but then I gave it a second chance just because I get triggered by suicide. It kind of upsets me a little bit. And that suicide was a theme in that movie, but that really stuck with me. Like days after I watched it, I was still thinking back and kind of being scared by it, like even days later, kind of.
Oh wow. Yeah, I mean, I didn't write it. I just directed it, and I did all the camera work again with another student, Jose, and then I wound up editing, everything together or whatever. But I don't know. To me, it was a great first time that I was able to come out here in Los Angeles and put that together. You know what I mean? So that was sort of cool. That was the first attempt at actually doing something, out here with a group of friends and students and seeing, hey, can I do it? Can I do it? You know what I mean? And I was able to pull it off. And so that was that film, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely was cool. Like I say, it really kind of got under my skin, which is good. And because that's what I want from a movie. I want to like feel something, and so that movie really delivered that, I felt. And what are you working on now, or what's coming up next?
So I do have a third Witch Chronicles written. I'm trying to figure out how we can go about shooting that. That would be awesome if I can be able to get back in. And then I've done projects with my wife. We did these we did 3 episodes called Forest Bathing Friends with Benefits. It's up on like Vimeo and stuff. So that's like the latest thing I did after all this, but she wrote it and directed it and starred in it. And, I make these little scary cameo appearances and I, edit it. But she was like looking over my shoulder saying, do this. So it was a great, awesome team effort. And then the first film I ever did, it was called this Bug Boy. And my wife and I put that together. And I wound up creating that character when I was at Zalman's. I used to run around Zalman King's office as Bug Boy. I don't know if you saw it. But I turned Michael Boxleitner, he was one of my students, Melissa Gilbert's kid, and Bruce Boxleitner's kid, in the Bug Boy. And I wound up doing that because I wound up directing. He did the role of Renfield as Dracula, and I directed him performing that role. And I'm like, dude, you did that so well. You could be this character. And I wound up like reinventing Bug Boy for him. So it was fun, man, because there was a lot of cool things that, I was able to pull on students that, affected my future in art, but it was stuff I created back in my 20s. And I'm like, this is, but my life sort of went like that, because everything was real and just kept growing on itself. And then the first feature I did with my, the second thing I did with my wife was the Crush the Serpent. And we shot that in Amsterdam and Fort Lauderdale. And that was crazy, man. And I had my family members in that. And that was like, we went out and just bought a little camera and made a movie, But that played in Sunset 5, and it played in the New York Film Festival at Sunset 5 in Los Angeles. So that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. I want to make more movies. This character Mormo that I play, I also play a hillbilly character, and I'm in the hillbilly like famous community right now in the Ozarks. So I'm thinking about making a hillbilly exploitation movie. And I could totally see writing a character for you, man. That'd be awesome to work together one day. I could write for you easily. Awesome, man. Yeah, usually when the characters, they're original, but they're based off the actors because they're my friends and I get to know them. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, you can do this, but I can push you to do this, this, and this. And then I do, and then all of a sudden I'm maximizing these people, you know what I mean? And doing it, all hours of the night, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, because we wound up doing night shoots. So you sort of get to know people pretty intimately when you're working that intensely together, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's it takes a lot of people to do filmmaking, I know. Yeah. Do you, like, for somebody who's never been in film school, would you recommend hiring somebody to do all the paperwork on a movie, or do you think that's something I could learn by myself? I think one step at a time. Like, that's what I did. And, the biggest thing is just covering yourself, you know what I mean, on set, and just getting release forms signed and getting all that stuff signed first, because that's really important. To protect yourself, so and there's generic ones online that you can sort of customize.
But it's not that hard, man. You know, and I was able to do it. You know what I mean? But if you know somebody, like if you want to stay non-union, it's less paperwork. You go union, it's a whole nother game. You know, and I did a union short with a friend, this director, Amy. We wrote this little short film called The Contest, and it won a bunch of different awards, which is sort of caught in Berlin. You know, but we came together, and I was her DP, and you know, provided the location and equipment and stuff like that to shoot everything. And then she came up with the story idea, and I wrote the script. So I like working with people, you know what I mean, that are creative and people that, you know, have a vision that I believe in. And if I have the means to help, I do it. Like, that's who I am. You know what I mean? And that's how I'm able to like get a lot of things out there and a lot of projects going, you know, and inspiring people. Because I think that was my gift. Like, it is being able to analyze somebody, open them up creatively, spiritually, you know, figure out where they're at, figure out what they want to say in life, and then get it on paper, and then get it on camera, and then get it in the editing room and make a friggin' story out of it. You know what I mean? And make it come to life and make people feel what it is that you're trying to say as an artist, you know? So I think it's a lot of energy, you know, and when I'm able, like when I'm sort of tapped in and I'm in that zone, you know, it's another world. Like nothing is going to stop that world from coming, you know, from not happening. But there's a lot of things that will come, and there's a lot of obstacles, and there's a lot of, you know, when you have a lot of people, that's a lot of personalities and a lot of different energy. So you have to know how to be able to handle all that. And that's the most difficult thing. So that's why I would say you're going to start off a small cast, start off making films with people, you know, if you have somebody that loves doing camera, you know, just learn your camera shots, go through your script and just block out every single shot. You know what I mean? Every line in a script should be a shot. You know, every time there's dialogue, you know, do you want to hold that shot? Do you want to do a 2-shot? How long you want that shot to go for? 1 line, 2 lines. You want to switch up the shot here. So the more preparation you do in pre-production, the easier production is going to do in these low budget films, because then you can move quickly. And that's how you're able to shoot 70, 80 pages in 4 days, 6 days, because you have no choice. And you get 1 or 2 takes, 3 takes at the most, and then we're moving on. So you better have your shit down, and you better fucking bring it all. And if I'm not doing that as a director and an actor, nobody else is going to do it. So I go extremely over the top, and I needed a character like Azar to be really cartoony and be over the top and be freaking crazy and be sensitive when he needs to be and be all these things, you know what I mean? But doing it at maximum performance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And it was a great performance. Everybody did a great performance in those movies. And I'm for sure looking forward to part 3. And I suggest everybody check out part 2 on YouTube. And then part 1, I'm not sure if it's still on Troma now or not, but everybody should definitely check them out. And I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight, man, and talking with me.
I love it, man. I really appreciate it. Anytime, man, I'm here for you, brother. Seriously. And if you want to work creatively, that'd be fun, man. Maybe we'll write something together or something. Be cool.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, thanks so much. And real quick, my friend Stephen Burr said, "Are you eating beans?" Because I had a viral video on Facebook where I was eating beans, and like hundreds of people saw it, and it got turned into a music video and everything.
Hopefully it was just beans.
All right, man. Well, have a great night, and thanks again so much for chatting.
All right, brother. Peace.